Good afternoon, everybody. It is noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on a Monday. So, you know what that means? It's content chat time. I'm your host, Erika Heald, and today we have a special guest with us who's going to be sharing all sorts of insights into how to create content focused email marketing that people actually want to read and respond to. So, please join me in saying hello to our guest today, Julie Revelant. Julie, please take a minute and introduce yourselves to the
Hi.
content chat folks.
Hi, Erica. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. So my name is Julie Revelant. I'm the owner of Revelant Writing. And, for over 10 years, I've been providing B2B healthcare content writing and copywriting for a wide range of companies within the B2B healthcare space.
Well, excellent. I know I'm frequently having folks asking me if I know anybody who does B2B healthcare writing. So I'm excited that now I can say, why, yes, I do know someone.
Thank you.
All right. So what I'm excited about today is email marketing has changed so much. And a big part of it is, we've had for decades now, we've been talking about wanting to really, adopt personalization and customization and tailor content to the individual. And while, those capabilities are certainly available in a lot of different channels, some of the most accessible ways of doing that are through email. But a lot of folks kind of don't even recognize that that's something they should be thinking about, or that that's going to be really what's going to drive things forward. So thinking through all of that, let's just, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what makes email such the valuable investment for content marketing teams. Because frequently, emails kind of get the rap of being that necessary evil. Like, ugh, I have to write an email, to send it out. Like, people don't seem to be as excited about it, but it does have a lot of potential. So I'm hoping that you can sell people a little bit on why they should be excited about email.
Yeah, that's interesting that people don't like writing emails. I love writing emails. But yes, I agree with you. I find that many companies in the B2B healthcare space in particular are not sending emails. They're not sending them at all. And really they're missing out on a huge opportunity because, research shows that 78% of people who work full time, they check their email before they, when they get up in the morning, before they do anything else, before they grab coffee, they are checking their email, which is kind of unhealthy, I guess, if you will. I'm guilty of it. But nonetheless, people are on it. And, studies also show that almost 100% of users who are on email check their email every day. And also email, you're getting a huge ROI on it. So 3,600% ROI on email. So it's like, why wouldn't you? In the B2B healthcare space or B2B in general, I would say it's becoming even more important because buyers are taking less face-to-face meetings, virtual meetings, face-to-face meetings with companies. And they're really spending more time in the digital ecosystem, and they're consuming content across various channels. And really by the time they get to you, they're maybe, 75 to 80% of the way there in terms of their decision. So really you need to be optimizing your email and leveraging it. And it's an amazing way to educate buyers, to build brand awareness, to build relationships, to stay top of mind, right? If everyone is on email all the time, you should be in their inbox several times a week. And of course, sales. And the thing about email is it feels so personal, right? Like you get excited when you get an email. Ooh, what do they want to tell me? Or what do I need to know? What am I missing out on? So I would say that marketers really need to be taking advantage of this channel. And it's kind of like a secondary thought, if you will. If you're already creating content, you should be sharing that on email. Every single time you should be sharing new company happenings, announcements, new solutions, new research reports that you've published. If your SMEs, your C-suite leaders have been interviewed, you should be sharing that. Everything that you create or have been featured in, it should be on email.
Totally agree because, the email channel, while you don't, own whatever tool you're using to send it out there, you do own your email list and you own your email content in a way that you don't own your social media profiles or your ability to get in front of even all of your social media followers. So I think it is really important to think about how you can use email as that primary, owned, hey, here's what's going on channel.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much has changed in the other ways that we're, engaging with people, that now email has a lot of possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And for years people have been saying email's dead or email's going to die, and we've been saying that about every medium, right? When radio came out, when television, cable TV came out, when streaming came out, everyone said that the previous media was going to be dead, and that's not true. Email, in my opinion, will always be there. It's just going to evolve and we have to move with it.
100%. And with that in mind, what are some of the new things that brands should be thinking about when it comes to the kinds of content focused emails that they should be sending out on a regular basis?
Yeah, so I'm of the mind that in B2B, we should be looking to consumer facing brands because they're doing it well, right? And so we, in content, in your email strategy, I really love kind of taking your notes from influencers, if you will, or course creators. And when you engage with brands like that, they immediately send you an email and then they send you 4 more emails. And it's not annoying. It works. It's effective, right? So I would say that the best B2B brands that I've seen are those that take that opportunity when someone gets a download, engages with a company in some way, signs up for a newsletter, they're sending them a welcome email. And again, completely underutilized. I would say I've seen maybe one company do this in the B2B healthcare space. But it's sending an email with, hey, thanks a lot for doing X action or downloading that piece of content. Here's what you can expect. This is a little bit about our company. Here are some other pieces of content that we think you may enjoy and get value from. And then here's what you can expect. So, maybe you're going to hear from us once a week, once a month. Or here's what you should expect in terms of what we're going to send you or what we're working on. And by the way, here's how to contact us. And it's not asking for the sale, but it's, hey, this is coming from a person at the company, and this is how you can reach out to us. And like I said before, I think that any type of content that you're creating should be sent out in an email. So if you just spend months creating an original research report, those are so valuable. They're newsworthy. People love numbers. They want to know the latest trends. That's a great one. Company announcements, anytime you're hosting a webinar. So, one of my clients actually does a really good job of this, and they send out not only an announcement, but they're sending out speakers that were announced and hey, we're getting closer. Did you sign up? Constant reminders, because just because you're sending it out on email doesn't mean that someone is going to see that particular email. So they need constant reminders. Your customer case studies, anytime you create a video, if your C-suite has been interviewed in the media or has conducted a podcast interview, that's great content. I also like behind the scenes content. And I would say, again, B2B is not having fun with this, right? They are not doing behind the scenes or look what we did this weekend. And you can do things like that. And then also checklists, surveys, anything like that. Really just everything that you create should be sent out via email.
And, that brings up, though, a few good points. Is some of what you're talking about, we see brands kind of halfway do or start to do, but then they kind of have those little missteps. So, one of the ones I see a lot is B2B brands have a tendency to send emails that the return email address is no reply. And they have notes like this account is not monitored, and it just comes from, the nameless brand logo.
Yeah.
And that's so horrible because that's like three things you're not supposed to do if you
Right.
want to actually engage people with email. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the other ways that marketers kind of get in their own way or, fail to
Mhm.
actually make the most of their email content.
Yeah. So again, I would say they're not doing it at all. They're not sending emails at all. There's no strategy. It's not a priority. I've spoken to clients where I'm trying to push that because of the value for, for engaging, for sales, for all of it. And they'll say, yeah, it's not a priority, or they don't have C-suite buy-in, or they don't have the resources to devote to it. So I would say, yeah, not sending it at all, not sending emails frequently enough. So maybe, there is kind of a strategy in place and they send an email once a month. It's not enough. Um, I would also say that, like you're saying, personalization, right? It should come from someone at a company. You should be personalizing your subject line with, you should be capturing those names and then personalizing the emails accordingly. It should come from someone at the company. And even if it's not their personal email, maybe you set up another one with their name. You should have that direct contact. I would say another mistake are bad email subject lines. Oh gosh, what a big offender this one is. It shouldn't be just I just come across these really dry email subject lines that I have, it's like, well, what are you telling me? Why do I want to open it? What are you offering me? I don't, I'm not going to open something that doesn't add value, that doesn't want me to click it. So yeah. And then I think the other problem is so many of these emails people are focused just on newsletters versus an actual email strategy campaign. And as a result, you're getting emails that are filled with copy. No one's reading that. So yeah, those are the biggest offenders, I'd say.
So with that in mind, what are the elements that brands should be having in those content-focused email strategies? Because I think, again, when email is just sort of an afterthought, a lot of folks don't have a fully fleshed strategy for the channel, even though they probably do for a lot of their, or most of their other marketing channels.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I think that most people have a content marketing strategy in place. They have a social media strategy in place, but social, like you said, isn't going to go anywhere without that original content. And you own email, you own that list. So I would say first and foremost, like any other piece of content, you need to have your brand strategy, your brand messaging framework in place. So you need to know why you exist, what your company offers, how it's different, how you do it, how you deliver it, and then, of course, your buyer personas and all of your key messaging. The second step is obviously to know your goals. So why are we sending email? Because some guru said we should? No, right? You're sending emails because you want to stay top of mind. You want to build brand awareness. You want to generate leads. You want to target different areas of the life cycle, the buyer's journey. Kind of know your goals around that. The second thing is audience segmentation. So you can segment your audience by job function, by buyer persona, organization type, customer life cycle stages. Really know like who you're talking to and what you want to say, because that can obviously be different depending on your buyer personas or any of the other demographics. And then something, I was doing research obviously for this interview, and one of the things I found that I loved is to segment your audience according to their engagement with your content. So if you have very engaged users, they're clicking and they're reading, send them some exclusive content, send them the behind the scenes content, things like that. Make them feel special, right? People are giving you their email address, they're giving you their name, maybe they're giving you their job title and maybe even a phone number, right? So give them value in return. So you can send them exclusive promotions that you may be having, again, kind of exclusive content. And then use that channel also to conduct surveys to gather additional data on these users so you can better understand them. And then I would say, like any content marketing strategy, you should have an editorial calendar. So I think this is another area where B2B, or marketers for that matter, kind of fall short. I was a journalist in a past life, and everything kind of revolved around that editorial calendar. And I would say most journalists that get into content marketing, that's what they're using. You have to
Yeah,
think like a publisher, think like a storyteller. So definitely have that editorial calendar. Know what you're going to send out every week, every month, what your themes are, how it all kind of revolves around your other pieces of content. And then finally, test everything. A/B test, test out just kind of everything. See what works, and don't be married to it. And then of course, automation. I'm not saying that, yes, AI is a part of all of our workflows these days, but I'm not saying use AI to write. But what I am saying is use automation to send those campaigns, those trigger emails after purchase, or someone has engaged with content, kind of based on behavior. And then finally, like I said, add value, answer the question, what is in it for me? That's why people are engaging. Those are people are opening your emails. They want to know, how is this going to affect me? How's it going to benefit my job?
totally. I'm a huge with them person as well. I've written that as feedback, the what's in it for me, WIIFM, on so many things,
Awesome. I love
because
it.
it is so important. And I also want to note that all of those ways that you're talking about segmenting your audience, those are all things that can, if you have an email marketing tool that allows you to use dynamic content, you're able to define variables for all those different things that are important for your messaging, so that you can have that one email you're sending out, but each person could get a completely different version, because little snippets of what's included, or like the image that you use, or the language that you use for a specific sentence, all of those different things could be created and customized based on them fitting into one or more, separate or even overlapping categories. So we can do so much more now, and the technology makes it so that you don't have to be a huge company in
Right.
order to have that kind of technology, which is amazing. That's such a huge advancement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, one of the things I hear a lot, or that I see when I'm doing a content audit, is frequently um, there's not a really good click through rate or conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
People over rely on open rates, which, as we know, open rates, there are some email programs that automatically open that email and use that. Opening it to give the preview information. So then you're getting false opens. And then there's other situations, like when people are using their phones, where they're not passing any data back, so you're not seeing that they're opening, yet you're seeing that they're clicking. So I think that we have a lot of mixed signals. So what are your tips for figuring out how to increase your conversion and to get those click throughs, since they're these days you really have to be optimizing for the click through, because the open, you don't know those numbers, they're just not helpful. But you can actually, when you get somebody to take that action, that is something where you can actually prove that email had an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say definitely look at your data. And then it all comes back to content. So, knowing who you're talking to, that's really important. Again, so segmentation, and knowing your buyer personas. And then, I think so much lies in the subject line, because that's like your front door, right? So if it's bad, no one's going to open it. They're just going to hit delete. So I love writing subject lines. I mean, there's so much fun. You can just, you come up with one, and then you come up with an additional 5 off of that one. But I think, playing into FOMO, playing into data. So again, if you just published an original research report, or if you just published a new blog post and there's a data point in there that's relevant that your buyer likely doesn't know, include that in the subject line, and play into their pain points. Like, what are their biggest fears? What are their biggest challenges? Make it sound newsworthy, like you would write any article or blog post or news story. Think about the headline, as a great subject line. So again, segmentation, definitely personalization. We talked about that. What I love is, again, it's a great way to engage with your buyer. So why not follow up with them after they've made a purchase, whether that purchase was done digitally or it was done, online, or was done in person with face to face with the sales rep. Follow up with them, ask them how they're doing, how are they using it, what kind of results are they getting, and then that's a great way to potentially have case studies with new customers. Maybe they're struggling with something, or they have questions about something, or you can dish up other content to them. So definitely kind of foster that two-way relationship. And then I would say also custom copy, images, custom CTAs according to the persona. Make all your emails mobile friendly, plenty of white space, optimize your images, have simple layouts, responsive email design. And then, something that's really cool now is something, again, I recently discovered, is this interactive content. And so I've seen some healthcare companies dabble in this, but I would say for the most part, no one's using it. But you can do interactive surveys and countdown timers and videos, maybe even demos. I'm not sure if that's possible, but definitely kind of like have fun with it, right? And people are kind of sick of these same old. So
It's true. It's so true. Because so many of the emails we get, they promise to be boring. I mean, do you want to open an email that says important announcement from whatever brand or another new product update? I mean, that shouldn't be your subject line. That's your
right.
placeholder. I hope, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh
That's
my
right. Don't make it
goodness.
about you, make it about them.
Exactly. It's like, why are you sending me an email about you? Why do I care? Why should I open this email? So it
Exactly.
always goes back to the what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So, how do you find out though what it is that the people on your email list actually want to receive from you? Because,
Mhm.
especially in B2B, frequently we find ourselves on lists that we did not explicitly sign up for and click, yes, I would love to receive emails. A lot of times we had to put in an email address in order to download something we wanted, or as part of the purchase process, or your email address gets added to a list. So
Mhm.
how do you find out what you're not giving them that they want, or what you are giving them that they could really not, would be happy if it just went away and never showed up in their inbox again?
Yeah, well, I guess, I mean, you could be looking at you should be looking at your metrics to see those click-through rates. And then also, if people are unsubscribing, that's a clear-cut sign. But then I think those conversations have to be taken into a different way. So, maybe you're conducting surveys, and maybe you're offering up some sort of an incentive, even if it's hey, here's a $5 gift card to Starbucks. Will you give me, 3 answers to this short survey about, if you're finding our emails helpful, what would you like more of, or what don't you like? And then I think those conversations can be had kind of on sales calls, when you're interacting with prospects, when you're interacting with clients. Those are conversations that probably should be had. And then, you could also conduct focus groups with prospects and with customers. Yeah. So what do you think, Erica? What do you think is really effective for that?
I'm a huge fan of doing ask a question and tell folks to hit reply with an answer, especially if you're
Yeah.
looking for a really quick qualitative kind of response. But I love when folks send out like a readership survey on a regular basis. So that
Mm-hmm.
way they're explicitly saying, hey, what do you want to hear more about from us? And, where else are you getting information? So that way, if you really love a publication and you enjoy getting their emails, you're happy to give them that info. So that way they can create more of the content that you really like.
Yeah, that's
Um,
great. I love that.
and if you're really lucky, you'll get some juicy answers back that you can turn into more content,
That's
which,
right.
that sounds like a pipe dream, but I did that when I was at Achievers. We literally sent out, a readership survey to our list, and we got back like more than 2,000 HR folks
Wow.
responding. And then we used a lot of that for ourselves internally, but we took the more general questions and we created some fun visual content that we then shared back out with everybody because people wanted to hear what their peers were most concerned with and the kind of trends as they were emerging to keep up with it. So,
I
that for
love
me
that.
was such a good example of being able to make the case for why they needed to be doing that more regularly because people wanted
Yeah.
to share their opinion.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. And absolutely, people want to be a part of the conversation. I think a great example of this is recently, I'm sure you know Peter Shankman, right? And he had Harrow, and then people got upset when I guess Cision came in and
Yeah.
acquired, right? And people spoke up, and it's the reason why they had access to him. They felt like he was someone who was approachable, right? And now he has created this whole other business that he never thought he was going to relaunch, essentially. And it's like, yes, your buyers are talking. They have an opinion. They want to be a part of a movement.
Yeah.
And B2B buyers, they can do the same thing if we just if they just made their senior leaders or someone at their company kind of that forward facing person who they felt as though the buyers can come to them, they're approachable.
Yeah, which goes back to having those emails and all of the content you create come from a human being.
Hmm.
Because I mean, we're still seeing some B2B blogs that have posts that say that they're from the brand's name. And you're like, no, the brand's name didn't write that. And if it did, then it's horrible AI content. So let's
Right.
let's put a person's name there, please.
Exactly. Yes.
So, if you're in the situation where you have an email strategy that's in place and you're just not getting results, what's kind of the checklist of what you go through in order to evaluate what you might be able to do in order to improve it, especially if you're in the situation of you inherited the email
Mm.
strategy, which I think is something that frequently happens. Someone else put it together and you've gotten it and you're the one creating all the content and you're like, this is so not working, but
Mhm.
how do you approach it?
Yeah, that definitely happens for sure, right? Because CMOs are turning over after, less than a year, and everyone underneath them as well.
Mhm.
So I again, I would say think about what your audience wants, have online, offline conversations, focus on better content. I think every channel, regardless of what it is, it all comes back to good storytelling, good content, serving up what your audience wants. So make it a better experience, add engaging elements to it, really again changing those subject lines, and kind of adding humanity, adding empathy, adding humor. We can kind of make B2B less boring, if you will, um, and test out, change one thing at a time. Don't overhaul your whole email marketing strategy, but maybe A/B test some of your subject lines. Change out graphics. Think about even images. Think about who do those images resonate with your buyer? Are they reflecting who your buyer is? Or things like that. And maybe shorten your emails. Again, I can't tell you how many emails I get, and they're too long. There's too much copy. I need to know what I need to know quickly, and what do I need to do quickly. So yeah, just test one thing at a time, and focus on different areas of your email marketing strategy to see eventually what works.
And I really love the one thing at a time because I mean, there's a reason it's called A/B testing, not A through Z testing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like, think about some of the emails that you get where it's a brief email, yet there are 5 different links to things.
Hmm.
So there isn't even one job that that email had. Instead, it had 5 or 6 objectives. And I think that that's one of the things that's really, difficult then because then you can't really assess how effective that email was at doing any of those things because
That's right.
that one objective was not the whole point or reinforced if you are, giving them a bunch of different options of different things to do.
Yep.
Because it's like with the newsletter, you want people to read things. So it's, you're looking at it through that lens of, all right, how many clicks went through and did people look at multiple things and look at other stuff on the website. But literally, you're sending one email. It needs to have one job to do. You can't be asking people to do a bunch of completely disparate things and then try to
Absolutely.
figure out where it went wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So, so many things have changed from an email marketing perspective so quickly. I would love to hear like what the tools are that you've used that you really love, because of course a lot of folks have used marketing automation tools that
Mhm.
they distinctly do not love,
Mhm.
and are not user friendly. So I'd love to hear if you have some recommendations for some of the tools that you've used that you really love and feel like allow you to give that personalized experience.
Yeah, so typically I'm on the other side of it. I'm just delivering up the copy and then the client is implementing it depending on what they have in place. But, I actually ran a survey on LinkedIn last week saying that I was, preparing for this interview and kind of wanted to gauge where people were. And, 62%, not surprisingly, said HubSpot. I have used HubSpot. Of course, I love it like
Yeah.
everyone else does. And then, um, the rest, really, most of the other respondents said other, so not sure what that is. There's so many, right?
Yeah.
I have used MailChimp in the past. I think MailChimp kind of has this reputation as like bare bones email platform, but really they're not. I mean, they have interactive capabilities, and I would say they really, depending on your level of engagement with them, they're great. I personally now use MailerLite, and I love it. I love the layouts and the automations that they have. It's really user friendly, and they have a ton of support articles, which is helpful because I'm kind of clueless when it comes to that stuff. So yeah.
I personally love ConvertKit. I've been using it
Okay.
for quite
Yeah.
some time and it's been pretty easy to use. Do you use anything like, do you use Grammarly or do you use like
Oh yeah.
CoSchedule's headline analyzer? Because I sometimes, when I get stuck, I will use that to try to help me figure out how can I create a better subject line? Because sometimes you're just like, you're just stuck.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I haven't used that. I do use Grammarly to check all of my work, but then recheck it again because sometimes Grammarly gets it wrong.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know I would say that most of, emails that I write or anything I write is really coming from me. Have I used ChatGPT? Yes, but more for ideation in terms of outlines and really that's it, ideation for different, just to kind of bolster up outlines, maybe something that may have missed, but everything is original for me. And I think clients, that's what they want. That's why they're hiring me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So we have plenty of time to take some questions from the folks that are watching us live. Of course, if you're watching this in the replay, you can still leave messages on the LinkedIn event page, and we will see them and we can answer them, not in real time. Or you can leave comments on the blog post if you're watching over on the blog. But while we wait and see if folks are brave and ready to ask some questions of you, Julie, my question for you is what is like, can you think of like an email you received recently that you
Mm.
thought, oh, I wish I had sent that email? That would, like something just really like grabbed you as like a great email.
Yeah, I can't remember verbatim, but I've seen, several recently that they're almost shocking. Something like your ebook sucks, or you're totally doing this wrong, things like that. Like, I think that that's really where we should be, not to in any negative light or mean spirited, but I think that shocking emails, clickable emails really are effective. Anything that is, again, playing into that fear of missing out, or did you know that X amount of buyers are doing this, or you, anything like that, where people are like, oh gosh, I have to click that. I have to find out. I have to know. I need that. That is valuable to me. Yeah.
I love those, and I have to say, of all the places that I get emails, that I almost always click through and read, Martha Stewart Living magazine.
Interesting.
They send me the best emails with the best subject lines. I open them probably more than any other, random email, that I get, and then I'll usually read a few things because they do a good job of kind of bucketing similar content together.
Okay.
But I
Great.
mean, to be fair, I'm also a, dog and cat mom and I have my garden. So I am definitely their target audience. But
Right.
still, I get a lot of emails from a lot of people with similar types of content, but they don't package it up and make
Uh-huh.
me just feel like, ooh, I have a few minutes. I can go look at this.
Yeah,
Because I think they do a good job too of letting me see what the value I'm going to get is
exactly.
if I take the time to click through. They don't just try to tease you and leave you wondering because a lot of times I don't have time to click through if I don't know for sure that I'm going to feel like it was a good use of my time.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
great point. Yeah, how many times do we open up emails and we're like, we have to click that, and then we're just so disappointed because
and that's the
there's nothing in it.
worst.
Yeah.
And you're not going to necessarily unsubscribe because of that. Although if you click through and what you got was completely something different than what it is, I don't know about you, but I will hit the spam button if it was something that I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
When you're like, "I did
Mhm.
not sign up for this list. This is
Right.
not what it said it was gonna be in the email." And that's like, "Okay, get out of my inbox."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I found that with, writing for publications where publicists would pitch me and it's like, and, like, why do I care? Like, really kind of, everyone else is saying the same thing. What are you going to say that's different? So, yeah.
Well, and that's a shame too because I'll tell you, I you do sometimes see people trying to get publicity for what they're doing and not tailoring those pitches.
That's right.
And, full disclosure, I worked at Highwire PR for a year and people spend a lot of time on the pitches. The way that you would pitch a reporter at the New York Times would not be the same as how you would pitch the reporter at TechCrunch, and you wouldn't pitch two people at the same publication with the exact same pitch because they would show it to each other, right? Like, you would think that these are
Yeah.
things that everybody would know,
Hmm.
yet, in my many years of working, I've seen situations where, less diligent teams, they'll do exactly that, and it's offensive, and people who get pitched the same off-target, terrible pitch, they'll share it with each other, and then they're not gonna open the emails from that agency, not even just
Hmm.
not from that one employee at the agency, but from
Wow.
that agency.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's pretty
that's the thing,
incredible.
your emails need to deliver what they say.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, it looks like folks are being pretty shy, but I'm gonna ask you one question before we wrap up. The other question I have is, on the flip side of what we were just talking about, like, what is one email that you don't ever wanna get again, and that you feel that in general, the one kinda email that we get all the time that just the world would
Mhm.
be a better place without?
I think, like you said, somehow you got into a list that you never signed up for. I get email, I'd say that I get emails and people haven't done their research and they think I'm a big company when it's just me.
Yeah.
Or they think that I need a specific type of service that doesn't resonate with me whatsoever. So I think that for companies, obviously they don't need to do that research because people are opting in. But so many times we get emails where or LinkedIn messages where they just have no idea what I do, um, or what I need, and yeah,
Are they
there's
trying to
just
sell you your own services?
yes, yeah. Or like I think you were talking offline about this, how they can guarantee X amount of leads in 1 week. And that would be too many for us to deal with because we're one women shows. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Or, those lists, who's who. Oh, you made it. Great.
Now, can you
Really?
give us $2,000?
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah.
So terrible. Well, Julie, thank you so much for sharing your email marketing wisdom with us today. If folks want to follow along with what you're doing, especially if they're interested in healthcare, content marketing, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So revelantwriting.com or on LinkedIn, Julie Revelant.
Thank you so much for being our guest today. And anybody watching this on the archive, leave us questions and we will be happy to get back to you. And we'll
Thank,
see you again next week for Content Chat.
thank
Thanks,
you so
Julie.
much for having me.
Take care.